Have you ever just stopped to wonder about this? I mean, if humans and animals share the exact same planet, why do most wild animals live deep inside forests instead of, right here alongside us? Welcome to this NiKu Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of nature's biggest mysteries together. We're going to figure out exactly why animals ended up retreating to wild habitats while we built these massive, towering cities. Like, were lions absolutely always kings of the jungle? Did elephants just always roam the forests? Let's get right into it.
It's a pretty simple question on the surface, right? But the answer? Well, it isn't just some random accident of nature. It's actually this totally fascinating story of evolution, survival, and our own human history. So, let's find out if something actually forced animals to pack up and leave our shared spaces.
All right, Section 1, Earth before human cities.
I want you to picture Earth millions of years ago. We're talking zero roads, zero buildings, and definitely no traffic jams. Literally just wild, sprawling habitats stretching as far as the eye could see. Every single land animal, from the absolute tiniest rodents to giant mammoths, lived in these natural spaces. And early humans, honestly, we were simply just another animal species trying to get by. We definitely weren't the dominant force on the planet yet.
And because of that, animals didn't avoid humans at all back then. I mean, why would they? Since we weren't the boss yet, we didn't pose this unique, overwhelming threat to them. Wildlife literally had absolutely zero ingrained fear of us. To them, we were really just another face in the crowd hanging out in this vast wild ecosystem.
Which brings us to Section 2, the rise of civilization.
So around 10 to 12,000 years ago, humans discovered farming. And this was a massive game changer. Instead of wandering around, people started to settle down. And this sparked a crazy domino effect. You see, 10,000 years ago, we built villages. Then 8,000 years ago, those grew into towns. And by 5,000 years ago, boom, we're expanding into these huge, sprawling cities. Our footprint on the Earth just absolutely exploded.
But to make room for all that explosive growth, the landscape got completely transformed. And I mean almost overnight in evolutionary terms. Whole forests were cut down, massive grasslands just completely disappeared, and wetlands were drained completely dry. This insane, rapid habitat destruction, that was the actual spark that forced wildlife to retreat. Their wild spaces were literally vanishing right in front of them.
Seriously, put yourself in their shoes for a second. Imagine your own home just being totally demolished. Where would you go? What would you actually do? Animals facing this massive wave of human expansion really only had one viable option left: pack up and move, much, much deeper into the untouched forests.
Okay. Section 3, the evolution of fear.
Now, early humans hunted for survival, obviously, but over time, our methods got terrifyingly efficient. What started out as basic spears quickly leveled up into bows, and then eventually into guns. Because our technology was advancing so fast, a lot of species were hunted basically to the brink of extinction. So suddenly, any animal that decided to hang out near people was way, way more likely to end up killed.
And this triggered natural selection happening in real time. Basically, over generations, the individual animals that successfully avoided humans survived longer. And because they lived longer, they had way more offspring. So today, a lot of wild animals just instinctively fear us, even if they've never seen a human before in their entire lives. They literally evolved to see us as the ultimate predator. Crazy, right?
Moving right along to Section 4, why cities fail wildlife. Now, you might be wondering, well, why don't displaced animals just adapt to modern urban spaces? Like, why don't lions just live in our cities? You really have to consider the massive environmental requirements of these big animals. A lion needs huge territories and a ton of prey. An elephant? They might need to travel dozens of kilometers every single day just to find food and water. And tigers depend entirely on dense, thick vegetation so they can stalk their prey. Concrete cities absolutely cannot support those kinds of complex needs.
So the big takeaway here is that forests remain their absolute best, and honestly, their only viable habitats. Forests provide the whole shebang. They supply the complex ecosystems these animals desperately need: the right food, clean water, proper shelter, and the safe breeding areas that are absolutely crucial for their long-term survival.
Section 5, the modern urban animal.
That being said, we are actually seeing some species attempt to blur those lines today. You've got leopards sneaking into suburbs, foxes roaming busy city streets, and monkeys practically turning into urban shoplifters at local markets. Even coyotes are out there exploring our neighborhoods.
These highly adaptable species are really trying to figure out how to navigate our concrete world.
But hold on, we have to be super careful with how we interpret that, because adaptation absolutely does not mean preference. This is crucial. These animals aren't actively choosing to live in cities because they just love the concrete. Actually, most of the time, they are desperately responding to their shrinking natural habitats and are getting forced into our spaces simply to look for food. And yeah, that is exactly why human-wildlife conflict is totally on the rise right now.
All right, our final section, Section 6, the last safe refuge.
When you zoom out and look at this whole timeline, a totally new reality emerges. Animals didn't quote-unquote choose the forest because they disliked us. Actually, scratch that. The forests were always their homes. It was our civilization that relentlessly spread, and that left wildlife with literally no other choice but to retreat to whatever natural areas were left.
There's this incredibly powerful quote that goes, "The jungle isn't a prison for animals, it's their last safe refuge." Just let that sink in for a second. Every single time a forest disappears, wildlife is losing yet another piece of literally the only home they have left in this world.
So protecting forests doesn't just save the animals, it actually preserves the super delicate balance that allows both humans and wildlife to coexist on this planet. It's really about respecting the boundaries of the home they still have. And here at NiKu, we truly believe this is exactly where science meets pure compassion for every animal.
So, I want to leave you with this one final thought today. The very next time you hear a news story about a leopard wandering into a village or elephants trampling some crops, just remember the timeline we walked through in this explainer. Are they really entering our world? Or are we just living where their world used to be? If you found this NiKu explainer valuable and enjoyed learning something new, make sure to hit subscribe for more fascinating insights. We'll see you in the next explainer.